Mhm.
You will have a shocking experience. I'll tell you that much. So
I'm so excited. Like, so excited. Like, I
Yeah, when
can't
that
even.
energy goes through you, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. Like I'm looking at this human being and say, how is this human being generating this kind of energy? It's insane. It's totally insane. I just like my first time I went, my mouth hit the floor. My mouth hit the floor. Like Ricky already told me, says, by the way, when he does, the energy's gonna go. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And it's not like it's not like I didn't believe him. It was just I thought it was just he took something that was true and just really, really hyped it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just really, really hyped it up. So, you know what? I'm curious. I'm willing to go. And then he took me down there, and he did all the other stuff like what you said, Nathan, when he does the acupuncture and stuff like that. And I said, oh, this is acupuncture. I've done this a million times. And he plugs me and he sticks me all the needles and whatever. I'm like, I've done this like how many times have I done acupuncture? Okay, I'm sitting back and I'm relaxed, you know. And I said, I know it's got to be more to this because Ricky said he can cultivate energy and stuff like that. It's got to be more to this. So just when he pulls all the needles and stuff, and he says, okay, I want you to relax. I want you to think about the happiest day of your life. And I was like, okay, close my eyes. And I thought about, I don't know. I'm not even gonna say what I thought about. And then he did this thing like, shoosh, 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 shoosh. And when he touched me, I was like, I was like, holy shit. And he looked at me and he goes, I thought you said you're a meditator. I'm like, I am. He's like, you've never experienced this before? I'm like, yes, but not from another human being. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, relax. I'm gonna put my hand on your stomach now, okay? Just be ready for it. And shoosh. This time I don't think he even touched me. He just put his hand like over my stomach, and I was like, I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this guy doing this? All right, and then he did my heart, and then he did my third eye, and he told me to close my eyes. And when he touched me in the third eye, I just saw like lightning strikes, like lightning bolts just coming up. Oh my God, how is this happening? Oh God, that was insane. Go ahead.
I was going to ask Nathalie, how long have you been meditating for? How long have you been meditating for?
How long have I been meditating for? On and off for a number of years, but like really inconsistently. Like I'd do it for a few days, then I would stop doing it for a while, then kind of pop back in. But with Yinergy officially, I started like three or 4 weeks ago. Like,
okay.
Frozen again.
And I was always curious about it, but this time, like with the latest like layers of the journey I've been on, it's like, yeah, there's something about it that really calls me to help clear out what I'm clearing out of my subconscious anyways. So I'm really curious to see how it's going to unfold. Like the second day I did it, I went into this 2-day process of like a core wound, like I'm unworthy. And when it came to life in me, it was like someone set me on fire. It was like so uncomfortable to feel it. And it was like, I could see my ego wanting to distract me and all of the usual coping mechanisms coming up. And I'm like, no, like I've got to sit with this. So I did like 2 meditations in 2 days. And the rest of the time I was just like allowing this burning to happening. And then all of a sudden on the 3rd day, it just like just cleared right up. And I'm like, oh, that's on day 2. Day 2. Bring it on. And honestly, sensation and bliss and presence that it brings me at the end of the night is ridiculous. 2 nights ago, I didn't do it because of the time I went to bed. And when I laid in bed, it was like I laid in bed with my outdoor clothes on and my shoes. Like I just don't feel like I'm like in a space to go into sleep compared to when I meditate. So when I did it last night, it was, that feeling of just like this, like really profound reset. And the thing with the energy I find so interesting is because it's an hour long, like the first half hour feels long. Then you hit that half hour mark and you're like, okay, here we go, 30 more minutes. But there's something about that final half hour that sounds like it goes on forever because it keeps doing this thing where the waves kind of fade out and you think, oh, that's it, we're done. And it kicks in again. And it does this over and over to the point where you lose the sense of time. Like it could have been 15 minutes, it could have been an hour and a half, I'm still here. And then the ego will come in. Oh, just how about you check how much time is left? You're like, you've done enough, or something along those lines. And I see it and I say, no, we continue to sit. We continue to sit. And then that moment when it finally fades out for good, and I'm like glowing, like, this is the best. Oh. I'm really loving it. Like such a beautiful synchronization that happens. Oh, yeah. So I'm really excited to see how it's going to continue to unfold over time.
Well, I should just warn you now. There are probably going to be some real dark moments.
Honestly, like, well, I was going to say, bring it on. I'm like, no, gently bring it on, but bring it on. Because it's like, okay, it's time to shit or get off the pot, so to speak. Right? Like it's like the subconscious material will continue to come up. And yes, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be confronting. It's going to be dark. But if I don't go through that process as gently and consciously as I can, the material is simply just going to keep coming up in loops over and over and over. I'm like, why do I still think like this? Why do I still feel like this? Why do I still act like this? What is it from that survival mechanism that's driving these patterns to continue happening? How can I understand the bigger picture of how that mechanism is working? And then you can get to a place, for example, where you're like, oh, I see this pattern playing out. When I have these thoughts, these emotions come up, that's the behavior I end up in. So none of these thoughts are true. I can choose which ones to engage with. So if I know these ones aren't true, don't engage with them. Keep them just on the edge of your awareness so they don't catch you. But engage with the thoughts that are in alignment with your greatest expression.
In alignment with your greatest expression. I like that.
But it takes so much practice.
It takes a lot of practice.
But it's so worth it. But it takes so much practice.
See, for me, it's because for years of doing Yinergy, doing Hollow Sync and doing Yinergy, it did so many great things. But for years, there was still this underlying layer that I couldn't tap. And no matter what I did, whether if I was doing meditation, if I was doing any of the sacred medicines or anything like that, or psychotherapy and all that stuff, I couldn't touch that layer. And I like, things were changing and things were getting better, but there's this thing I just couldn't change. And I remember one day, which was only about, how long ago was it now? It's the last time I went to see Mario. So that would have been, that must be at least 4 years now. Maybe 4 years ago, I'm lying in bed. It was probably like a Wednesday. I think you froze again. Oh no, you didn't freeze.
You're good.
You're just doing it. Okay. So good.
You need to blink more.
I know it was after work. I know it was after work. I was laying in bed and I felt it. That thing dropped. Whatever that thing was, dissipated. Never came back.
Wow.
Yeah, never came back. And I'm like, oh, whatever that was, fine. And it was something so subtle too, but it was just gripping. It just wouldn't let go. And then one day it just went. It just dissipated. And I went, oh my gosh, what a relief. Something so simple too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Years and years and years of me just focusing on this invisible thing that just wouldn't let go. It will let go during you know, peak experiences and spiritual awakening moments, but it would always come back. And the moment that thing disappeared, it faded away, it never came back.
Do you think it was just the cumulative effects of all the work you had been doing, and it just at that point like almost like that point, the point of not catalysm, like a catharsis came?
Well, during that time, for a long period of time, I was trying these other experiments. So what I would do, I wanted to see what happens if I took I'll show you here. I would take these pads and I would connect it to, what was this that I picked up? I picked up like audio splitters from this electronic store. Oh, it's got some stuff on it. Hold on. From this electronic store, and I'd plug it into my device. So when I'm doing, I'd use a splitter, and then I'd use a second splitter where I'd plug in these pads along with my headphones into the splitter. So I'd be listening to the energy, and I'd have this attached to my arm, either to my arm or to my chest or whatever. I'd strap it to my arm or to my chest. And I did this for a period of time. And when I do it that way too, I can feel some of the energy going through my body to some degree. So I knew that it had an impact on the body as well. So I was doing that for a period of time. And then at some point I went to do ayahuasca. So the last time I did ayahuasca, the last 2 times I did ayahuasca, I didn't have a breakthrough. Nothing really, I vomited and all that stuff, but nothing, I didn't have any kind of experience. Nothing really happened. It's just, I vomited and that was it. But after I went, the last time that I went, which was about 4 years ago, and of course I was still meditating with the energy, it's when it happened. So I think it's a combination. Yeah, that's it. Because there's certain things that meditation and brainwave entrainment can't do to some degree without special support. So if you're one of those individuals that that's gone through some serious deep trauma from childhood, meditation may not touch that, because it's really hard to get to the deeper ends of childhood trauma. So that's why they always say that extra support, like with the psychotherapist and shadow work, is going to be necessary for that. And I've gone through a lot of childhood trauma. So when I started combining all that stuff together, and doing, like, how many sessions I do with Mario, like maybe 10 sessions. The last 2 sessions, well, at least the very last one, the last 2 sessions where I didn't break through, that last one, I felt that's what did it, along with hooking these pads into my body. Because during that time I started doing the pad things on my body and whatever, that's when it all happened. So it's probably just at some point I just I got to that point where it was all for nothing. And when I broke through on that never came back. I never felt that thing again. So that was how many years of feeling that underlying thing, whatever it is. I can't even explain what it is, but it's just something, my mind is gripping onto something. Yeah. It's causing me some kind of minor distress. Nothing huge. It was just very, very subtle, but I could always feel it. And the moment that it let go, I was like, wow, what a huge difference. But it's a very, very subtle thing. I have moments in my life where things happened and it was permanent. So the first one that I had was about, I didn't meet Nathan yet. So this was probably about 12 years ago, where I was actually facilitating a workshop, and I'm talking to a group of guys that Nathan knows them. He knows some of them. I was talking to a group of guys after school. And as I was talking to them, my mind fell into a meditative state, like a minor state of samadhi. And I was like, holy shit. I just fell into it. And I've been into that state. I've been in that state ever since. I've never broke it. I'm in it right now. I've never broken that state. So I remember that moment when that happened, and that always stayed. And then the second moment was the one I just told you two about. And then there was a third one, but the third one I'm not going to get into. But there's a third one, and it seems like it's permanent. And so I'm assuming that there's many others that will come, that will follow suit. That probably leads to what they call, at least liberation from the relative self standpoint.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying that from that point forward, you broke into a state of samadhi and stayed in it.
It's not like nirvikalpa samadhi, where when you're nirvikalpa samadhi, you're in this non-dual state of being. It's not like that, and it's not like sahaja samadhi, but it's like one of the lower meditative trance states. So it feels like it's some form of a trance, and you get used to it over time. After a while, you don't even realize it's there unless you're talking about it. But something just changed. Something just dropped. So what probably happened is, in my brainwaves, in my waking state, I'm probably producing brainwaves that I would probably only produce in a meditative state. And so now that I'm probably still producing those brainwaves while in a waking state. So that's probably what's happening. Yeah, and that's always staying. It's nothing significant. Like really, like the moment it happened, it was significant. It's like, holy wow.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, you just get used to it, and it just becomes a regular thing. And I don't really remember how I was before that, because it's been so long. It's been 12 years.
Yeah.
Right. It's been 12 years. So it's very interesting though. It's very interesting. But there's these little subtle states that you fall into that that I guess becomes a stage, because states would be referred to temporary states, and stages would be permanent stages of development. So yeah, so that's what I've noticed. So in that case, it's happened 3 times now in 3 different ways. The third one, I'm still trying to determine if it's a permanent state, because there's some stuff that happened that they were temporary, but they lasted for a very long time. And then you come out of it and you're like, oh man, I lost it. What happened there? Because some stuff are just meant to be temporary. There's some stuff you can't hold, you can't do permanently. Like when people talk about being in the state of a non-dual suchness, it's hard for me to believe that anyone is in a non-dual state of suchness unless they're giving a different meaning to non-dual. Because if you're in a non-dual state of suchness, you'd be bumping into things. You'd get into car accidents. Because there's no distinction between subject and object. So I don't really buy that argument about being in a non-state of suchness, a non-dual state of suchness on a permanent basis. But you can have a non-dual way of perceiving things, right? Which is different than an actual non-dual suchness. So you can have a different way you can have a different sense of perspective, which is non-dual, quote unquote, give or take. That is true, and that becomes a permanent thing. But in terms of there's no way you can be able to, the state that when you go into the state of Satori, or whatever you want to call it, you're not staying there forever. You're coming back down, but you're probably coming back down, hopefully eventually able to hold certain states within your relative everyday self.
That makes sense. It's almost like you can have the direct experience and not necessarily stay in it forever. But when you have that direct experience, you have certain concepts and memories to work with, but it's not the experience itself.
It's not the experience itself. Yeah, and trust me, who would want to stay in these states as you're trying to do everyday stuff? Someone's going to have to take care of you, because there's no way you can do all the things that you want to do while in these states. Right?
You basically be a museum
their place.
Was it like is it like having like long COVID? You can't really talk to people. Like I remember one time I was trying to order a shawarma one time, and the guy thought that the server thought I was high. It's like, do you want ketchup or what? Or do you want some spicy sauce on your shawarma? I'm like, what? Yeah, let me get everything. Let me get everything. I'm just like,
this is why you had COVID. So when you had COVID, you're going to takeouts.
No, I don't
spreading know. Spreading the virus around. Like really?
I had a mask on. Hey man, shawarma.
This guy's walking around with COVID.
No, I had but the COVID effect. I'm just trying to say, like, is there a meditative state? Is it like having like long COVID? Like, if you like,
no,
you can't really function.
They didn't share any similarities. No.
I'm just saying, like, did you feel like you were like dazed and confused? Like you're just like
No, you don't feel dazed. You don't feel dazed and confused. If anything, you're more sharp than anything. But you don't feel dazed and confused. I don't even know how to explain it. Have you ever fallen into a meditative state, a meditative trance?
Maybe.
See, you say maybe right there. I'm gonna have to say no, because you would know if you fall into a meditative trance. You would know it.
I have to like think about it. Like I have to go back into my fore memory.
Unless it was really, really subtle and you just don't remember it. But if you fall into a trance, if you fall into that meditative trance, you know it. You know when you're in that trance.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in flow
forms of it
states
too. There's different variations of this trance, but when you're in it, you know that you're in that trance. It's really, really magnificent when you fall into one of those.
What about flow states? Like when you're like
flow
doing
states,
something?
it depends on what you mean on flow states. Flow states are different. Flow states is when you fall into that state where if you're an athlete, you can't do wrong. If you're doing comedy and you feel like all the riffing and stuff that you do starts to flow naturally, and you just can't, you're in a flow state. When you're playing an instrument and your fingers are just hitting all the right keys with ease, you're in the flow states. And you'll notice that those flow states are different than meditative states. And some of them can cross too. You can be in a meditative state where you're in a flow state at the same time and you're able to do certain things. But when you're in a meditative state, you know you're in a meditative state.
I guess I haven't been in a meditative state.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I'm here to tell you that no, you haven't.
No, it's okay. I can handle brutal honesty. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I just hate telling all my guys like, no, you haven't done it. No, you haven't done it. No, you haven't done it. Because some people got upset with me when they were trying to tell me about an ego death, and they were telling me about it, and I said that's not an ego death, and just get upset. And it's like, this is not a competition. I'm just trying to tell you that that's not the thing. That's not it. Sometimes people get upset because the ego gets in the way, and who can blame them? I get it. You know what I mean? You're working so hard at something and you're trying to explain something to someone, and I'm there. My job is to say that if it's it or if it's not it, because if it is it, you wouldn't have to confirm it with me. Right?
Right.
No Swami
getting upset.
yeah. No Swami could ever tell me, Morgan, no Swami could ever tell me that, because I'm never going to bring it to a Swami to try to get his confirmation. I know I've done this. So the moment you have to ask that question, there's a sense of doubt there. And when you have any of these experiences, and don't get me wrong, the meditative states are not the same as awakening states. These are two different things, right? But of course, if you're having an awakening state, that's a meditative state as well. But I just want to make sure that there's a distinction. So there are states that you can fall into, and this is where it gets really tricky. And that's why guys like Ken Wilber are really, really necessary in regards to trying to find out these different sets of states, because there's psychedelic states, there's meditative states, there's emotional states, there's mental states, there's so many different types of states. There's astral projection states, there's lucid dream states, and there's different degrees of them. There's lucid sleep states. There are so many different states of consciousness that it gets really, really tricky. So you can go to sleep one night after doing months and months of energy or holosync or any of these brainwave entrainment, and one day you can wake up and you realize that you're in one of these meditative states. Because the meditative state doesn't have to happen while you're meditating. Did I freeze?
Yeah, state of frozenness.
Damn. Can you at least hear me talk?
Yeah, we can hear you talk.
I could use some of it. Yeah. So so there's all these different variations of meditative states that you can fall into. I probably froze again. Because you guys all look weird with something, and I'm like, oh gosh, I must have froze. Because why does Nathan look like that?
The frozen state.
Frozen state, yeah, the frozen state. Hope it's not permanent, because I need the footage. Yeah, but there's so many different states. It gets tricky in trying to figure out which is what and what is what, and has it been documented and all that stuff to try to figure out what's in what. But meditative states can be put into the states of samadhi. So there's samadhi, but samadhi can go all the way up to what they call sahaja samadhi, and sahaja samadhi is the ultimate goal, at least while you're still alive. There's states after that, but you have to be physically dead for those. But at least while you're alive, sahaja is the highest state that a human being can possibly attain. Yeah, definitely frozen.
I had a question come up about the energy. So you know how there's a frequency in one ear, a different frequency in the other, and that makes a specific carrier frequency. So how does your brain
Well, it makes
pick
a
up
beat
on a
frequency.
carrier frequency? Oh, it makes a beat frequency.
It meets a beat frequency, but the lower of the two is the carrier frequency.
That's right. Okay. So with the beat frequency, how does your brain differentiate between the beat frequency and the sounds of the waves? Like, how do the sounds of the waves not interfere with the beat frequency?
Well, it does interfere to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
It does that to some degree. But also, there's also white noise, or pink noise, I should say, that's used with that as well. Pink noise is used to mask the binaural beat, but pink noise also enhances binaural beats. So this is what they know through studies. So it actually enhances the binaural beat. The sound itself, like when you're hearing rain or the waves and all that type of stuff, the reason why your brain knows the difference between the two is because there's a certain part. This part I don't know how to explain too well, only because it's not my field. But the brain, there's a part of the brain that picks up this type of entrainment. The sounds that you're hearing on the nature sounds, that's not entrainment. That's just an audio. So that just does what audio does to the brain. But your brain, there's a part of your brain that's picking up, which is called what is it called? The overly nucleus. I believe it's called the overly nucleus. The nucleus ovary. Nathan, look it up for me. I don't know. I can't remember. that part gets stimulated by a brain entrainment.
Oh, I
so
see.
The nature stuff doesn't stimulate that part of the brain. So that's how your brain's able to make the distinction between a binaural beat and a nature sound, or music, or whatever the case is.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Different sound stimulates different parts of the brain. So when you make a binaural beat, and it's kind of another way to explain it too. You know how just say if you're listening to music, there's a certain amount of notes that are created, and all music are made by those notes. Binaural beats would be like the offset of those notes. So your brain knows how to make that distinction, because these are two different things. So everything is sound, but there's different types of sound. And binaural beats are created by using sine waves, sine tones, I should say. So two tones makes up a brainwave, a brainwave signature. So yeah, your brain, that part of the brain, the overly nucleus, nuclei, the overly nuclei. It's only because I haven't looked at the stuff in a while. But that part of the brain is being stimulated, which doesn't get stimulated by music or by nature sound, unless I take the nature sound and I make those binaural too. So I can take two tracks of the same nature sound, and I can change the pitch frequency of one side over the other. And if I change the frequency of one of the nature sounds and pan it over to the left ear and pan the other one to the right ear, it would also create a binaural beat as well. And that's what your center of your brain will entrain to. That's a good question, though. A lot of people ask that question. But yeah, that part of the brain is stimulated and entrained by that type of audio.
That's cool.
I feel like if I would have asked that question, you would call me a hack. But it's all good. It's all right.
I would have, because a lot of people have asked that question. Yeah, but a lot of people do ask that question though, because it's like, well, you're mixing all this other stuff with it. How does your brain know the difference? Well, your brain knows the difference though, because also too, even though it's stimulating that part of the brain, the center of your brain, it's not the audio that's creating the entrainment. It's the vibration.
Oh, that makes
the vibration of the audio.
Good vibration. Boo, boo, boo. I'm sorry, I'm just here for the comedic role. I don't know.
Oh, that was good. I'm glad you did that. Come on. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Just using the offbeat. Gotta use the offbeat.
The offbeat, right? Yeah, binaural beats is an offbeat, which is different than regular audio.
I never would have thought that. So, like, when you say offbeat, like, what kind? Like, is there's like specific notes? Like,
well, you see how you have the notes, the scale of music. Binaural beats are doing. They're the sounds that you can't make music with. So there's still a range of other sounds but we don't use them in music because it doesn't sound good in music. but they have other purposes. It's just you don't make music out of it. So you can use them to make beats and things like that. So you can set a binaural beat to tones of music. You can do that. But usually the tones that you hear in the binaural beat are the off sounds that they don't make good musical tones.
Huh. So
they're not within the musical scale.
What if you put like auto-tune to them? Do you think?
Well, if you did auto-tune, as long as the two frequencies, as long as the two sounds are slightly different in frequency, you're gonna get a binaural beat.
Can you imagine the auto-tune version of Unity? Could you ever can you send it to
No, I would even do it. That's just a waste of my time.
Just send it to
I see no purpose to take a binaural beat and make it into auto-tunes. Unless if the binaural beat was saying something vocally, yes. But because it's just a tone, all you're gonna get is you're just gonna get that robot feel to it. It's not gonna be anything. All right. But if it was doing something vocally, like saying actual words, like it was singing, and you add auto-tunes, then that's different.
Are you sure? Can you just try it one time? Like
I'm not gonna waste my time with that. Why would I bother with that?
That's what they said to T-Pain. That's what they said to T-Pain. Look at him now.
Like that's what they say to T-Pain. So there's no purpose for me to do that. Like it doesn't serve a purpose. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that unless I was like really, really bored and I had the actual auto-tune software. Maybe I'll filter it through, but no, it's not gonna make it better. It's not gonna make it more entrained. It's not gonna do any of that.
No idea. Could be the next level.
Right? Throughout the 50, 60 years that people have been playing with binaural beats, people have tried all different types of things, and you're not going to get anything stronger. If you want to get something stronger or better, you gotta raise the amplitude of the sound of that beat. I guess your guy's smoking again.
He smokes. Yeah, it's just I can smell it now. So sorry. We'll just cut that up.
If I can. I really love the world to see this part.
You
started doing this is like look like he farted in a small room or something. He's too lazy to open the door, to crack the door open. That's why I had to mention it, so I know it's the guy smoking downstairs, because I'm like, oh boy, look at him. He's setting himself up.
I was thinking about giving the energy to my neighbor just to see what would happen, but I don't think he would use it. You think that could? Do you think I could use the type of meditation that you don't need headphones? Do you think if I played it all day for him, do you think he would like meditate but unknowingly? Do you think that could work? Like played it really loud?
Probably.
It's like, because I'm trying to take a new method to this man just to see what would happen.
Just because he starts meditating doesn't mean he's going to stop smoking. Right? You have great gurus who still smoked all the way to their deaths, and they were enlightened beings smoking cigars and everything. If they didn't stop smoking, what chance does this guy have? Because you have to remember too, meditation is not about becoming a better person. It's about realizing what you are as a person, or what you are beyond that person. But a lot of people get it twisted when they think people say, if you've been meditating for all these years, well, how come you're still an asshole? A person who's meditating is still going to be an asshole. He just may become really aware of his assholeness. All right? Meditation may not fix something like that. It's about awareness. Well, but you can become aware of why you're such an asshole, and maybe you drop it because you realize that doesn't serve a purpose. That could happen. But if it's part of your personality trait that you developed since age 7, and that's part of your ego, you may never drop that. And again, you have enlightened beings, like spiritual gurus, who are very difficult. If you talk to their former disciples, they tell you this stuff. Very difficult people to be around with, but they wanted to be around that person because that person brought a certain energy in the room every time they were in their presence. But they were grouchy, You know, some were mean, some were strict. You know, some were heavy smokers. Everything. But for whatever reason, these people were extraordinary, magnificent people.
That's so interesting. Imagining a person with a grumpy disposition that somehow emanates the most divine energy that people can't help themselves but want to be around them.
Yeah, yeah. You got people who really on the high end of enlightenment and are still chauvinist, still racist, still ethnocentric. All of that. From Ken Wilber's standpoint, it's not balanced because they don't have the integral piece to it along with the waking piece. That is true. But from the awakened standpoint, from the awakened consciousness standpoint, these people, we're talking about some of the highest levels known to man, yet still have their stuff. They just don't care. They just don't care about it. Like when you realize who you actually are, you know, these people don't care about what they are as humans, right? They don't care about all that. They've realized who they are. None of that really matters to them. So now that they've realized who they are, their physical bodies, their egos are still acting out and doing some stupid shit, but
so they're like, are they like Matt Damon in that movie?
Which movie?
Where he plays the genius? What's it called again?
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, is it like that? Like you're just so good at like math, but you can't. Your life sucks. Is that how it is? It's like I don't know.
You know that movie inspired me. That movie is why I became a youth worker.
That movie is the great. I love that movie. It's such a sad movie.
The movie's amazing.
You don't cry.
No, I don't think it's like that. I don't know. I don't know. Because in the movie he's displaying a talent, a gift that he has, a level of intelligence. Right? Enlightenment is not intelligence.
But the way he does it is kind of enlightening. That's what I'm trying to say.
No.
Are you sure?
That's a high intelligence.
Huh.
That's a high intelligence. Enlightenment really means comprehension. So if you're looking at it from the standpoint that he comprehends math, then I hear what you're saying. But we're talking about spiritual comprehension, where you can comprehend when you can comprehend non-dual presence, when you can comprehend that you are, and this is no exaggeration, that you are the universe. Like, I don't think people are taking this in, why this is so much higher than intelligence. You've come to realize that you are the universe. I'm not talking about you come to realize that you're the earth, or realize that you're the solar system, or realize you're the galaxy. You come to realize that you are the actual universe itself. Remember, our planet is it's smaller than the grain of sand within the entire universe. That's how it's smaller than that, right? So just imagine how small you are on that planet. That little tiny speck in the entire universe has come to the realization that they are the entire universe. People are not. You think Master Lee blew your mind? Wait till you have a Satori experience where you realize that you are the actual universe. You're not going to care about some mathematical techniques. You're not going to care about any of that because that is also included in the universe. All right? Think about that. All math, all geography, all science, all philosophy, all religion, all economics, all politics, all music, all movies, all pairs of shoes, all species of animals, all human beings, all aliens, all reptiles, all microscopic creatures, every single speck of dust, every grain of sand, every blade of grass, every raindrop, every sea, every ocean, every fish within the ocean, every worm, every planet, every solar system, all galaxies, and all universes. You realize that you're all that and more. You can't bring this mathematician thing to me after coming to that kind of a realization. Like, people really not taking in what I'm trying to explain here.
I only bring that up because I went to the school that he did the math question in. Yeah.
For real? What's the name of the
Yeah. I don't want to name the name because it's a dumb school, but
that's where he filmed the movie?
That's where they filmed parts of the movie, where they filmed the
Parts of
university part. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you're not going to say the name of the school because, you know,
Yeah.
I would drag you through the mud with it. So you're right. You're doing a good thing. That's fine. But yeah, but just imagine you're coming to this realization. Not only that everything that's considered good is exactly as everything that's considered bad. Everything up is also down. Everything subjective is also objective. Everything masculine is also feminine. Everything. If you look at time, what's the shortest amount of time? As a zenosecond? What is it called?
Magic time?
No, the shortest length of time is a xenosecond.
Came up with that.
No,
that was Matt Damon.
Time. No, it's xenosecond or xenosecond. I think it is the shortest length of time. But whatever the shortest length of time is the exact same thing as infinity. They're both the same thing.
Wow.
Right? Because there's no distinction between the shortest length of time and the longest length of time, which is infinity. Exactly the same thing. Right? All human beings, all living creatures, same thing. All rocks, all petals, everything, same thing. All planets, same thing. All everything, same thing. Same source. That's why they call it absolute monism. When you have that realization that you're all of that and more, your existence, you're everything that exists and everything that doesn't exist. You're the possibility, the impossibility, the probabilities, and the improbabilities, all in one. Right? And when you have that realization, and I'm talking, it includes everything. Everything is included. Everything from the beginning of existence, which there is no beginning of existence, right? But let's put a cap on it. So the beginning of existence, the beginning of existence.
Cap.
You're all of that. Cap. That's cap. Right? But you're all of that. All of that. You're every big bang that's ever banged, and you're every big boom. All of that is
bang. Every big bang that boomed.
Big bang, the big bang.
That banged.
Right? You're all of that. You're every energy, you're every type of gas. You're dark matter, you're dark energy, and you're regular matter, because there's matter, dark matter, and there's dark energy. But regular matter only represents like 5 or 6% of the universe. Everything else is and then dark matter is a certain percent, and the rest of that is dark energy. All of that is you, or all of that is a manifestation of you. But not only is a manifestation of you, the thing that you're manifesting is also you. So this is the tricky thing. So we still like to, for those who've had a causal experience, will say that God is manifesting all this stuff into existence, and this is true. But on the level above that is the non-dual absolute monism experience, and there is no distinction between the manifester and the thing that is manifesting. All of that is exactly the same, because this thing's also beyond, it is and is beyond time. So if it's beyond time, then there can't be anything, there can't be a cause and effect. But within time, there's cause and effect, and you're that as well.
That was a wickedly good description, just to contemplate.
I try my best, but I still don't even do it justice trying to explain that thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. But even just going through that whole series of like every blade of grass, every drop of water, every microbe, like when you really, because you hold it in your mind, this concept of, yes, I'm everything. And we know that we can't fully imagine it, but we think that we do. And then you go through this kind of exercise where you start to take someone through, imagine all of this. And these are just small examples.
Small examples, yeah. And we can go on for days. We can talk about the different aspects of love. That's all part of it too. Yeah. We can talk about every event that's ever happened in the entire universe. That's all you. Every situation that's ever happened in the entire universe, that's also you. Right? All of it. Every second that's ever existed, that's you. And all the things that don't exist, or the things that we've made up as human beings, that's also you, because you have the ability to even make up something that's an imagination. That's also you. So I try not to exclude anything, right? Because all of that is coming from the same ground of all being. All of that is you.
Would you say that when you have, let's call it the non-dual experience on the breath of 5, is that comparable, so to speak? Like compared to Satori?
It can be. So a person can have a full-blown absolute monism on something like 5-MeO. But even on 5-MeO, it's still very difficult. Right? But yeah, if you want to compare it to anything else, that can be done over any other substance, I believe. Over any other substance. But a lot of people have done 5-MeO and still don't know what I'm talking about. Right?
I resonate. The reason why I was asking is because I'm thinking back specifically to the first experience that I had, where what you're saying, I can taste it. I can feel the resonance of that. Like, oh, that sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, 5-MeO, and there's another one. 5-MeO DMT, and there's 5-MeO MET. 5-MeO DMT and 5-MeO MET are very similar to each other, but MET seems to be milder. It brings you gently or gradually, as opposed to 5-MeO that takes you and just show you this bright light and just brings you right in there. But they're very similar to each other, even though they're different substances. But 5-MeO MET and 5-MeO DMT. But yeah, but you can do that on either of these substances if the individual is highly developed enough to do it. Because if your nervous system brain doesn't have the power to do it, it won't take you there only because it's protecting you. But if the brain and nervous system is refined and can and is ready for that, it can definitely do it easily, very easily, without effort. You're quick. Go ahead.
I had one question. You said you're in a meditative state now, but is there a way to be in the flow state all the time? Like you're just walking down the street, just crushing it.
You can't be in the flow state all the time.
Oh,
those are temporary.
Really?
Yeah, and rightfully so. But you can learn how to constantly put yourself in the flow state anytime you need it. That you can do.
Really?
Yeah. That you can learn how to do. But you can't stay in a flow state. You'll burn out your nervous system.
Huh. Because like you ever meet people who are just cool all the time, and like you just don't know what it is. They're just walking.
But that doesn't mean they're in a flow state though. Really? So you could be talking about a different type of state, but I hear what you're saying. That could be what you're talking about can be that could be a permanent state, but I wouldn't necessarily call that the flow state.
Oh. All right. Okay.
But now we're just dealing with semantics here. Right? But if you're talking about someone who's able to tap in when doing a performance all the time, that's a flow state. That's every athlete's goal. That's every musician's goal. That's every actor's, comedian's goal, to be able to turn that thing on and off at will.
But could you do that in life, just like regular life? Walk into a store, just get free stuff or whatever. Like something, there's gotta be like a way. Like you ever meet those people, just like the Fonz? I mean, like
that's charisma.
But the people in real life who just crush life at everything they do. You ever meet those people?
Well, I guess you didn't hear my answer because I think I froze again. But that's charisma.
Oh.
Right? You can develop your level of charisma.
All right.
But I'm not going to put charisma in the same category as flow states. You know what I mean? Okay. But that is something too. That's its own thing. How can you develop your level of charisma?
I'm just trying to understand
that. Yeah, certain movie stars, certain singers have that charisma. Michael Jackson had that.
All right.
Right, but he also had flow states. He knew how to tap into it anytime he wanted to.
I'm trying to understand the meditative state of mind that I'm just trying to like compare it to something because I just still can't like wrap my mind around how that you can be in a state permanently and just not leave it. It's just like kind of mind-boggling for me.
There's certain states that your body can do that in, and there's other states your body can't produce those. Like your body can't produce a permanent state of nirvikalpa samadhi. Your body can't do that. Your brain can't do that, but it's capable of doing that periodically. But apparently, you can be in a permanent state of sahaja samadhi. Apparently, you read this in documents all the time. But when I talk to spiritual teachers, they say that's not possible. Did I freeze again? How long was the freeze this time?
Oh,
it's like I've been frozen in time, and every time I come back, I have to ask you what took place. How many years passed? 50 years, sir. I had grandchildren and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, and they died before I came back. Why? Why would you put this curse on me?
This is like the Buzz Lightyear movie. This is exactly.
Oh yeah,
you see, yeah.
I never saw it.
It's really good. You guys,
the flow state.
Yeah, it's just every time I don't want to explain the movie, but it's
don't spoil it for me. I want to see this.
It's sad though. It's sad, but
sad,
it's really good.
No,
all the Pixar movies are sad as hell. Like the first 5 minutes is the saddest thing in every Pixar movie. But
you know how to tap into the human emotion, you know?
Yeah.
I have to check it out. I have to check it out still. But imagine being stuck in time and every time you come back, all your loved ones are gone because you went away. You're frozen in time. You're gone for 1,000 years, came back, and everyone you've ever known are dead. So that'd be like it's a sad moment.
Hey, you just froze when you tried to explain it.
Bullshit. Right? Oh. Yeah, but if you can try to hold any idea of a non-dual state in your mind, you can't do it. You have to free yourself from the mind. You have to totally free yourself from the mind. And when you free yourself from the mind, you realize that's the thing about it. You realize that you've always been that. And I know I'm saying you, but at this point there is no you, or at least no small you. You know, you realize at that moment that you are the ultimate self. Or the no self, because if it's non-dual, so the ultimate self and the no self also becomes one thing. Because these are two different states. The ultimate self, like the self, and the no self are two different states. And this is why there's that argument between Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta in regards to these two states. But it's actually that's also non-dual. Those two also goes together, where you realize you're the self and the no self. Froze again?
Yeah.
I don't know how it's not there, but I guess it was meant to freeze. Anytime I start getting to this stuff, like no matter whatever, as soon as I start talking about this stuff, everything always freezes. Like Morgan, certain people are not supposed to have this information yet. We're freezing everything. Happens every time.
There's got to be one guy who just permanently, like, he just like for instance, like Neo. Like, you know, Neo when he's in the Matrix, he's always
sci-fi though.
I know, but there's got to be like at least one guy we haven't developed. We haven't seen yet. He hasn't been on Instagram. We don't know about him.
Many people believe that's Ramana Maharshi.
Who's that?
Remember the guy? Remember that time you were high on shrooms, and I showed you the picture of that spiritual.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah, and you just keep talking about it. So this guy knows he's God. This guy, and I'm looking at you and saying, yeah, but I know I'm God too. Like, it's not just this guy. You didn't care what I had to say. You just have to look at this picture. This guy knows. This guy knows. I'm like, hey, but I know too. And you're like, yeah. But this guy knows. He kept doing it for like a whole hour. This guy knows. He kept on looking at him like, oh my gosh, this guy knows. I'm like, Nathan, hi. Like, yeah, but this guy really knows. He doesn't even know the guy. He's just like, this guy knows.
I was so far gone.
Just like, this guy knows. Oh my gosh, this guy knows.
Oh my god.
Morgan, you trying to tell me this is the guy? I mean, yeah, he's one of them.
It's just the picture.
You remember that? You remember that?
Yeah. The picture was so funny to me. It's just like his face. It's just like but he had no answers. So I was looking for answers in the photo, but he didn't say anything. I was like, this guy knows, but he's not talking. What's his problem? Like I was on mushrooms. I couldn't think. I was confused. I had no idea. I'm like, this guy knows. This guy. I was saying
This
like
guy knows. This guy. This guy knows. Oh yes, Nathan, he knows.
Oh God. Oh, so good. Oh God. This is
and you couldn't say Ramana Maharshi. You just kept on Ramana, Ram knows. I'm like, it's Ramana. Ram, no, it's Ramana. Ram, like Ram, Ramana. Ram, Ramana. Right, Ram. Yes, Nathan, Ramana Maharshi. Okay. Regardless, this guy knows.
It was just a confusing state. That was the most confusing day of my life. I swear to God. I don't know how I got through it. I didn't understand anything.
Don't get into that because I'm gonna have to cut all that stuff out. So I'm not gonna get into that story. I never want to go through that experience again. Wow, that was one hell of a day. Wow. I'm glad we got through it because I was like, oh my, this day needs to end. This guy is high as shit. And I don't know how to help him. Yeah, I didn't know how to help you that day. The moment when you went to the bathroom at Pizza, and you threw yourself on the ground and cried because I wouldn't come and help you.
I didn't cry. I didn't know where you were.
You were crying. You called me on the phone and you said, why won't you come and help me? Why would you abandon me? I'm like, bro, I'm just outside. I'm waiting for you.
I didn't know what outside was.
You were lying in front of the door, like on the ground, and he couldn't grab the doorknob. He just reached for the doorknob and he couldn't grab it. He's like, I can't open the door. I can't open the door. Why would you do this to me? What? I'm like, Nathan, like I'm trying to help you. Like, just open the door and go into the bathroom. You didn't. You kept on grabbing the door, and from your standpoint, it's like your hand was going through the doorknob. Just. It was what a messed up night. Oh my God, I was scared. I was frightened. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't think this guy's ever gonna shake it. Because no one's supposed to be on shrooms for 12 hours. That's not possible.
Because that's one hell of a heroic dose, man.
It's supposed to be 3 hours. This guy was still on, like, we're into the night. This is like 9 o'clock at night. This guy's still on. And I'm like, how is this possible? He took this thing like around 12. I don't understand how this is not wearing off. Guy, that was an awkward day. I blame that on Ram.
It was during COVID restrictions, so I couldn't use the bathroom. So
everybody was like, you're right. Like he didn't want to give you he didn't want to open the door for you because he's like, it's restricted. And I'm like, no, this guy really needs to go because he took a fit in front of the cashier. You're like, I need to use the bathroom. Why can't I use the bathroom? The guy was freaking out. I was like, okay, open the door for you. Okay. And he looked at me and I was like, yeah, just open the door for him. Just open the door for him. These guys were scared. You scared everybody in Pizza. Yeah, it was a messed up night.
The one thing that killed me is that there was this guy just like, yo, there's a bathroom at McDonald's. I'm like, I don't know what McDonald's is, man. Just open the bathroom.
You really didn't know what McDonald's was. Like, you really didn't know.
I didn't know where your car was. I had no idea. So when you like come outside, I don't know where outside is. I couldn't understand it. I'm like, someone's gonna come get me.
All sense of logic left you that day. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you didn't know what anything. I don't know what McDonald's is. Yeah, I made a mistake of taking you outside. I'm like, oh my God, I thought it was over. I thought you were good. That was because, driving around, I was like, you're good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, let's go to Pizza. And as soon as I walked into Pizza, you were a changed person. As soon as you put one step in the door, I'm like, this guy wasn't ready yet. Oh my gosh, I should have taken him out. Oh my gosh, this is messed up. That was a scary moment.
The thing that scared, I think, I had the painful experience, but like you feel that pain in your stomach. That's when it hit me. And also, like, I saw a minimum wage job. It scared the hell out of me. I'm like, oh God, I remember this. I hate this. I hate the sounds. I hate all the stuff of minimum wage fast food restaurants. I'm like, oh shit, I hate this place. And that's when I start freaking out. I'm like, oh God, I hate this place. I hate it. No, but I couldn't say that outside of myself. But physically, it started manifesting like, I gotta get out. It's just like I couldn't do anything
about it.
about it. It's like
Minimum wage body. I gotta get out of this. The filth of minimum wage. Oh my God.
Get it off me!
Get it off me! Get it off me! That day was a lot of dark shadows coming out, man. Oh my God. I was like, oh gosh, this guy needs therapy.
The thing is, I went to the bathroom. I didn't even have to go. I just had to I didn't even, I couldn't.
That's the thing. You didn't even use the wash. Like after all that, we were there for like a good half hour. You didn't even use the washroom at all. I don't even understand. That's all you talked about. I need to use the washroom. I need to use the washroom. I need to do what? And you never even used it. Like so. And you didn't even eat the food that I bought you. So all that. I couldn't eat it. I wanted it, but I couldn't put it in my mouth. I don't know what happened. I like pizza. Man, first time on shrooms. What a crazy day. That was insane. Yeah.
What a wild story.
Yeah, Nathan just Nathan himself is a story. Just a funny guy to hang out with. Like you make me feel good. Like if I'm having a bad day, hang out with Nathan. I'm like, you know what? My day's not so bad. Always give me new perspectives, man. I'm telling you. Like anytime I call you up, I'm having a bad day. Hey Nathan, what's going on? How are you, bro? Oh, my day's shitty. Good. Let's hang out. Always making my day.
Right here, man. Right here.
People always ask me, why are you hanging with Nathan? I'm like, guys, trust me. Hang out with him for just one day. You just see Nathan all day just looking at the pictures. Ramana.
Give me the answers.
Ramana.
I need the answers. Give it to me. Just looking at me. Like, what? Give me some. It's like, come on, man. I'm lost.
Only Nathan. Love this guy. Too funny.
I'm curious if you had to recommend a Ken Wilber book to someone who had not explored his works yet. Which one would you recommend as like the first one to dive into?
The Ken Wilber book. First one?
Mm-hmm. Like I was thinking of reading Integral Meditation, but I also have, I think it's Sex, Ecology, and Spirituality.
You can start there because it's one of his earlier books.
Which of the two?
The first one you mentioned, what was the first one you mentioned? What's it called?
Integral Meditation.
That's one of his newer books. That came out a few years ago. I have a copy of it here. That came out a few years ago. The other book that you mentioned, is one of his earlier works.
Oh, good to know. Okay, I'll start with that bigger one.
Ken Wilber is amazing. He's like the only individual I know that went out of his way to really break down to find out the difference, the distinction between psychological development and states of consciousness. And what's really good about his stuff too is there's a lot of things that I didn't have answered only because there was no one to go to in regards to what is this and what is that and what happens and why am I going through this after having the experience and what's going through that. And when you read a lot of his work, a lot of that stuff is explained.
Ooh.
Yeah, it really, really helps in that regard. If you care about that type of thing. There's some people who are spiritual people who say, oh, if you care about all that stuff, you're too left brain and blah, 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 blah. It's not spiritual. I'm saying, no, it has to, it has to mix the two. There's nothing wrong. Some people have develop a shadow towards either right brain thinking or left brain thinking. And it's like the goal here is to combine the two. When someone is able to equally function both hemispheres of the brain, that person is going to end up having the ultimate non-dual experience, because it takes both sides, because they both play a role in this.
Yeah.
And you can be highly spiritual and be very intellectual. You can still be that. You don't have to give up your intellect to be highly spiritual, right? But there's a lot of myths running out there too, of how you're supposed to be. A lot of dogma of how you're supposed to be if you're highly spiritual. If you're highly spiritual, you wouldn't really care about any of that, really. Well, I can't say that either, because there's different types of people and personalities and stuff like that. But we shouldn't be developing dark shadows towards things a person may not be inclined in, because some people are just not inclined in a certain area. So then they use spirituality to say, well, I don't need that because I'm spiritual. It's like, no, you're just not inclined in that area. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not everyone has to be a great artist. Not everybody has to be a great mathematician. Not everybody has to be great with words. There's room for everyone.
Not everyone's Matt Damon. Yeah.
Well, you know what? When I watched Matt Damon too in Good Will Hunting, I was like, man, I wish I had that mathematical ability. All right, I remember saying that to me, man, it'd be so cool if I was able to do mathematics in that fashion, because he was just this guy, this street kid, and he was able to do this. Like, that was so cool watching that movie back in the day. Right. But as I'm here to say to you, Nathan, there's something beyond all of that. And you don't have to attain it, because it's already you. All you have to do is just realize that it's you. That everything that's ever happened in the universe, you created it. You're doing it. You're doing it right now. You've always been doing it. You'll never stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't. You see? You know your music. You know your stuff.
P. Diddy.
P. Diddy.
Oh, let's get
it. Can't stop, won't stop. All right. All
brother.
of it's you. And it makes all this stuff well worth it. It blows my mind when people are not interested in this stuff. I just, at this point, I can't see how people can't be interested in this stuff.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It's so mind-blowing. It's like, guys, if you guys just took a little dabble in this area, I'm telling you,
Right.
most people aren't buying it. Was that?
You don't even have to reach full enlightenment, so to speak.
No,
just every step you take on that path is just
just a glimpse.
Mind-blowing each step. Oh,
just a glimpse is mind-blowing. Like I laugh at people. It's like, hey, are you kidding me? You guys don't know what you're missing. People think I'm the crazy one. So that Morgan,
right?
he's like, if you understood how I see the world, and I laugh when people say, oh, come on, bro, come on, stuff like that. Come on, and you're like, you have no idea whatsoever what's really going on out there. I wish you knew, but it's not for me to force that on you. But trust me on this, just a little taste. This guy had a taste of masculine. The guy freaked the hell out. So did my other guy, who one day he just like, what the? And I'm like, that's not even the half of it. Right? But it's amazing to see how human beings are able to do this thing. That's insane on its own. But when you have the realization of what you actually are, that you are the universe and beyond. But you know what? I think we can't even. Before people saw images of the Earth, people couldn't think outside of that box. It's only after the first rocket was able to penetrate into the spatial realms that we realized that, oh my gosh, that's our Earth, that's our planet. That
the atmosphere,
a whole new perspective.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, once they broke out of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Right. That's when people that's when a lot of creative innovations really started to happen, when we were able to see what our planet was, and that we're little tiny specimens on this planet. Right. We can't do that, at least with our current technology. You can't do that with the universe. You can't do that with your galaxy. You can't do that with your solar system. Well, you can get images of of different galaxies and stuff like that. But there's no way that a person can get a glimpse of the actual universe. Well, at least not without a spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening. And if anyone who have done that, the reason why I was able to come up and be able to do all this math with vortex-based mathematics is only because most of them happened right after either a peak experience or awakening. I look back at some of my work and don't even understand it. I have to sit there for quite some time and try to remember how I did it. And then it goes like, ah, that's how I did it. Oh gosh, I couldn't remember that.
Wow.
Right? What's out there is so extraordinary that I won't shut up about this until the day I die.
I feel the same way.
You see what I mean? Like, how can I stay silent about this? How can you stay silent about this? You can't. Stuff is mind-blowing.
Included, but secondary.
It's just real. I can't. Yeah.
People get a glimpse. I'm telling you, like, it will blow people's minds.
Yeah, I think about that quite a bit. Where it's like, if someone hasn't had even like a taste of these kinds of experiences, how do you take them from a place of concept to experience? I mean, you can't take them there. You can only point a certain way, and then they can walk the path themselves. It's like, it's almost like, how do you help people get a taste of why they would want to even do that in the first place?
And I guess it just has to be certain things that has to happen in your life personally. There's a reason why you're on this path, because there's things that's happened in your life personally that brought you there. Whether it took some type of discomfort, some form of trauma, or some form of some kind of some kind of intriguing experience, something that got you there. For me personally, started off when I was 17 years old, and one night I woke up, I was sick. I had a throat infection, and I woke up, and there was this angel in my room, and it was angry. This big angel. It was bright, wearing bright clothes, and it was angry. And I thought I was on the top of the bed, and it flipped me over. It flipped me over, and the bed was on top of me. And I remember crawling up from underneath the bed and running into my parents' room, saying, "There's someone in my room." They flipped the bed over me. My parents came running in the room. There was no one there, and my bed was totally intact. And I went, "What the? I swear this happened."
Wow.
Bed and everything in my room was totally intact. Nothing changed in my room. And I could never explain that. And I was like, I wasn't dreaming. I was awake. Right? But I could have been having a lucid dream.
Was it Will Smith?
Was that?
Was it Will Smith? Was the angel Will Smith?
Was the angel Will Smith? Right? From that day forward, I've always been intrigued. And then that's how I got into like sci-fi and all that stuff. That's when I started to watch like Star Trek Next Generation and Stargate SG-1 and all that stuff, and The Matrix. Just wanting to know whatever I can grab and see if there's that's just something I just became intrigued with. The spiritual, that moment with the angel is something I put aside in the back of my mind for many years, but that was the catalyst for all of this.
What were you doing before like the angel came? You just chilling in your room,
I was in bed. I'm sure I fell asleep at some point. I fell asleep, but when the incident happened, I thought I was awake. I thought I was awake, but I had a throat infection, and I was taking
Tylenol, Benadryl, Robitussin.
I had antibiotics for the throat infection. Right.
Oh, okay.
This was like maybe 2 months before my 18th birthday, 2 or 3 months before my 18th birthday. And when that happened, I was like, whoa. Right. So that's what started it for me. And then, of course, years later, my good friend Tara, she always tried to get me to do shrooms, and I was just like, no, I'm not into that. I would never. Those are the days I'd never take a psychedelic. I didn't know anything about them, and growing up with a Christian background, that was just a no. A lot of things were a no-no, but that's the one thing I wouldn't do. And she kept on talking about, so you should just try it with me one day. Just try it with me one day. And one day I was bored, and said, you know what? Well, I shouldn't say I was bored. At that point, I hit a crossroads. Something didn't feel right. I didn't feel fulfilled in the career I was in and all this stuff. Nothing felt right. And I wanted some kind of a change, and I didn't know what it was. And I said, you know what? I'll do shrooms with you. And that's when my moment changed. That's when I said, holy shit, there's something more going on here. And I started to explore. I didn't do shrooms again for a long time, but it got me into, it made me try hypnotherapy. and then shortly after, brainwave entrainment. And then that took me through a whole, into its own rabbit hole and into Pandora's box, and pow. But yeah, I always thank my friend Tara for that. I always hit her up and say, yo, thank you for giving me shrooms that day.
Seriously, that unlocked the whole course of your life.
Yeah. This one time taking shrooms with her, it was the day before we went to England, and that changed my life.
Wow.
And this was back in 2002. Yeah, 2002. Day before I went to England, she gave me shrooms, and I was like, what the hell? Yeah. Life has been different ever since then. 2 years later, I quit the comedy circuit. 2 years after that, I quit the comedy. I quit comedy. I left TV, all that stuff. Took 2 years off. Kept on meditating every single day. I went into nonprofit.
Wow. Interesting. What drove you
Because this crazy girl gave me shrooms.
It was a what?
This crazy girl gave me shrooms. Hey, try it. Take 3 stems. Just try it. Try it. I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Thank God.
And it's different for everyone. I know many people have taken shrooms and none of that shit ever happened. but I did it one time, and I was questioning reality ever since then. And then after, when I started meditating, at that point, it took 5 years of meditation every single day. To this day, I've never missed a day. Nathan always hears that. I've never missed a day of meditation. But it took 5 years for me to break into stream entry, where I had my first spiritual awakening.
5 years.
Well, from the time I took the shroom, whatever, it would be about close to 6 years. But
okay.
Probably about a year later, close to a year later, I started meditating on a daily basis.
Wow. It's just so fascinating to me to contemplate the kinds of experiences that are possible as you explore these different tools of consciousness and become more skilled at working with them. And
it's infinite. I'm sure there are many different states neither one of us have ever touched. Who knows? There's so many types. Like, oh my gosh, yeah. There's states that you may have fallen into, and you're like, holy shit, this has never happened before. And it's just totally different than all the other ones. You know, there's so many. I don't think the stuff could ever be measured in regards to the different types of states. In the Upanishads, they mention 50 states of consciousness. I believe there's much more than 50.
Wow.
Unless there's 50 states of consciousness, and within those 50, there are sub-levels within these 50. Maybe that's the case. So it's probably 50 major states of consciousness, and within them, they have their own sub-levels within them.
So, like, does the U.S. have it, like, right? Is it like the U.S., United States of America, like 50 states? How many states do they got? Like 50, 54? Within the territory?
How many states? Is it 50?
It's like 52, but they don't count. Like, I'm trying to say, like, you know, like
Alaska's theirs. Alaska's on our side, but that's theirs. Now it's
just like funny how like nature, like, somehow correlates to like meditation or like mathematics. Like, you can see like certain equations in nature or like countries or something like that. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
neither do I. I thought you had something, and I was like,
I thought I did
too. You had something there because you read about the math and stuff. You read about the math and nature. All of that stuff correlates, right? Yeah, I'm not sure where you're going with the 50 states, but with math and nature and all that stuff, you're right.
I just thought like certain things in like meditation like manifests itself into like countries or whatever, and we just don't know it yet. We just say, oh, it's just, you know, United States of 50 something states, and it's like it's the exact number of states of consciousness or something like that. We just don't know. I don't know.
We should let the people know that we're Canadians. We don't have to know all this information because they probably think we're Americans and we just don't know our own. We don't know how many states within our own state. Yeah, we're Canadians. We don't know. All right, but yeah, a question for you though, Nathan. When you said that, what did you mean by the 50 states, though? In correlation, what do you mean? Just so I can get to see where you're coming from with that.
What was your question? Sorry.
Yeah, what was your question in regards to sorry, not your question. What were you going with in regards to the 50 states?
I thought like maybe it could be like maybe there's in certain states in the US, maybe there's like different states of consciousness in like particular states that, you know, like maybe there's a different state of consciousness in New York. That's
oh no, I see what you're saying. No, you're right about that. You're right about that. In integral theory, when they talk about the different stages of psychological development, that's also true with collectives. So as much as I'm only talking about individuals, that an individual can raise their psychological development, yet they can increase their states of consciousness, right? So the stages are vertical, and the states of consciousness is horizontal. But the same is also true with groups. So different countries are in different psychological stages than at higher ends of psychological stages than other countries. So if that's true,
you froze.
Probably froze. Okay, so yeah, so they had to cut it somewhere.
You look like Uncle Sam. Like, I want you. That's what you look like.
I want you. Join the USA. Yeah, but if that's true about countries, then that would also be true about states and provinces, right? So people in different provinces and different states could be in different states of psychological development than other states in other provinces. Because we're Canada, so we're provinces. Just to let the people out there know, not you, Nathan.
Like I've noticed throughout my years of living on this planet, it's just like everything goes. It's just so weird. We have the same problems. We just go around. We go to extremes on either side. We go this way or that way. And it's just like, can we just like figure out a way? Can we just? Is there like? I don't even know where I'm going with this question. Someone else.
Do what? But it's sounding good. Can we find a way to do what?
We find a way to fix these gray areas in life. It's just like we keep going throughout these different states of consciousness over like everyone's battling each other with we keep on saying, well, we have this supreme consciousness, we have this supreme intellect, and I don't know what I'm talking about. I really don't know. Please stop me.
It's like you're on shrooms again.
I can't. Yeah, I can't. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have it in my mind. It's just not coming out. Like I can't. It's just weird. I don't know. It's just. I don't know what I'm talking about. Please, Nathalie, enlighten us with.
Save me, Nathalie. Save me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I got nothing. I'm totally out of the flow state. I'm in the free state, but I'm not freezing. That's just. I'm backed up verbally. Okay, I'm constipated verbally. I don't know how to get out of it. You know?
Can't even get out.
You're not in a flow state as much as you're falling down a mountain. You're like, please help me.
Please help me. And she's not helping you. You're